Hey guys, what's going on? Lane back for another HBO Max review, and today I'm going to be talking about Father of the Bride. Father of the Bride is an American romantic comedy that tells the story of Billy Herrera, a Cuban-American architect whose life is not as it once was, as his previously happy marriage to his wife Ingrid has soured over the years to the point that she eventually requests a divorce just before their daughter Sophia returns for a family reunion. When Sophia arrives, her parents are surprised to learn that she is newly engaged to a man named Don, who they have not previously met. As the wedding date approaches, Billy must come to terms with both her marriage and find a way to navigate the struggles of his own marriage. This movie offers a unique twist on the rom-com genre with its emphasis on Cuban and Latino cultures, but in the end it isn't anything that hasn't been seen before. It relies on a lot of tired tropes associated with the marriage concept to keep its story afloat, and while there is some fun to be had, its familiarity reduces its impact. Andy Garcia does a decent job at portraying a man who is stuck living in the past and out of touch with others around him, as well as the world at large. His desire to have his family avoid the same hardships he had as an immigrant are understandable, and his overcompensation toward protecting his family results in conflict that made me feel bad for him. But while his actions come from a good place and he is sympathetic to a degree, I found him increasingly stale as the story progressed. He repeatedly states that he came to the country with nothing, which is supposed to reinforce his character's background and behavior, except the movie is about as subtle as a jackhammer in this respect. The dynamic between him and his wife Ingrid was another recurring problem I took issue with. On one hand, there is a believable tension that's conveyed between the two, as there's more of an aching sadness to Ingrid as opposed to fury or scorn, almost as if she wishes he could see what she sees is wrong in the relationship. This aspect of their marriage is communicated well, but everything else feels bare bones. There's barely any context given as to why the two are upset at each other beyond petty squabbling, leaving little reason to care about their predicament, and it doesn't help that the two actors don't have much chemistry either. Billy's relationship with his daughter Sophia was probably the most interesting part of the movie for me, mostly because it ties into the themes of traditions and values more. These two couldn't be more different from each other, with each wanting to organize the wedding the way they want, and their varying disagreements help make the story more interesting as a result. Once again, however, their differing generational values end up being typical. Billy wants hundreds of guests, while Sophia only wants a few. Billy wants a grand venue, while Sophia only wants a small one. Pretty much any kind of parent-child dispute relating to a wedding you can think of is here, which didn't really annoy me, but it also didn't impress me either. Most of the other characters are decent as well, if lacking in memorability. The sheer variety of family members present throughout results in a lot of silly scenarios that help to offset all of the wedding drama, so the tone is mostly balanced out. Centering this movie around Cuban-American culture was definitely a good call. The characters speak passionately about their countries, swap between English and Spanish as they see fit, and there's a general closeness between both the major and minor characters that make them feel more authentic as a family. This being said, the large number of characters that are present in it can make the movie crowded at times. It can be difficult to figure out who's who or what relation a character even has to the family. Some are just there in scenes without any dialogue or exist to say one random quirky line before disappearing again, so there's a lot of filler that doesn't amount to much. One character that did stick out for me in a mostly positive way was the wedding planner Natalie Vance. She's a snooty Instagram influencer whose modern personality is completely at odds with Billy's conservatism, and seeing her butt heads with him and others was a lot of fun to see. The reason why I say mostly positive though is because she makes multiple references to Latinx, a term used to describe gender-neutral Latinos even though there's no such person in the movie, and on top of that it's just plain disrespectful to the Spanish language. Perhaps its inclusion was done on purpose to highlight Natalie's vanity, but the delivery still didn't land. The rest of the dialogue is okay for the most part. This is where a lot of the movie's comedy comes into play, as characters tend to playfully exchange verbal jabs with each other. It's funny to see all of the family members spat with each other in various ways, and this also helps highlight one of the movie's stronger elements in the form of Sophia's fiancé, Adon's family. The feud that builds between Billy and Adon's dad shows how far-reaching and invasive a family can be when it comes to an important event like a wedding. Both of them are competitive, but nothing they do is done out of malice for each other, more so that they want what's best for their kids, and seeing Adon getting caught in the middle and trying to figure things out along with Sophia made their story more compelling. However, even with this dynamic going on, as I already mentioned, most of the conflict surrounding the wedding is tired and played out. No one can agree on the right dress, the right venue, the right bachelor party, the right anything. Some of this connects well with the Latin American elements and may be made a bit better because of them, but by and large it remains ordinary in presentation. And though the story is mostly balanced and appropriate in terms of tone, the movie's soundtrack doesn't always match it. There's a light jazz track that plays in just about every scene, regardless of whether the moment is dramatic or comedic. While the music itself is nice, repeating the same style of music over and over made for jarring tonal shifts in scenes that would have been easily fixed if there was more variety to it. In spite of the rote presentation with the events leading up to the wedding, I have to say that the final sequence when the wedding finally takes place was great. Without spoiling anything, it is pure chaos in the best way possible, and all of it is featured in a long take showing how many moving parts go together to make a wedding happen, which was a cool experience. And while the themes of traditions and values remain as average as everything else, there is some meaning to be found in it all. It examines how people can lose their way when they stick to their guns so much, and emphasize how change is important in order to grow as both an adult and a couple, which is a good message. Overall, Father of the Bride is a decent but ultimately forgettable rom-com that is made more enjoyable by its Latin American presentation, but its disappointing familiarity prevents it from standing out. It's fine for a weekend watch with one sweetheart, but not much more beyond that. And if you happen to have seen it already, what did you think about this movie? Did you appreciate the Latin theme presentation, or were you bored by how cliche it was? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Father of the Bride. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the American sci-fi Spiderhead. Bye bye!